Hi, and welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Martin Bailey, and joining us today is Rachelle Hutt, owner and director at Mess Around Limited. Welcome, Rachel, and thank you so much for taking the time out to join me today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm quite excited.
It's absolutely our pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your story as we go through the conversation. So, look, why don't you start us off actually by telling us a bit about who you are and what you do?
So I'm Rachel, like you said, and I own Mess Around Limited. I started my Mess Around career as a franchisee back in 2019. So I'd been a teacher for 20 years and just wanted totally out of the rat race. And Mess Around was exactly what I was looking for, I think. When you've spent 20 odd years as a teacher, it's really hard to suddenly think don't know what to do. So Mess Around sort of gave me everything I was looking for. I still got the chance to work with children, but I was my own boss. I got the freedom to just fit things in around my family. And so yeah, so I started in 2019, built my area up quite quickly and was doing really well. And then of course we got hit by the pandemic. So we struggled on through. My I think my carrot was the only other option for me was to return to teaching. And I knew that was exactly what I didn't want to do. So I was determined we were going to come out the other side. And we did, but we in the process lost a lot of franchisees. So I saw the Mess Around business decline from 35 franchisees down to five of us that came out the other end. And my franchisor then approached me just, I think, as lockdown restrictions were being lifted and said, I'm ready to go down a different route. I haven't got the energy to rebuild, Mess Around back up again. Are you interested in taking it over? So I absolutely jumped at the chance. Um, so I took over as franchisor in 2021. So we've been slowly building the business up and spreading the mess back across the UK. So
Very good.
it's been a bit of a transition, really.
I love that, spreading the mess across the UK. That's that strap line that you use.
Yes, yeah, we're trying to, yeah. So in my marketing for franchisees, that's sort of my line. We want to spread the mess far and wide. So
Yeah,
be
love that, love that. And there's no bigger incentive than having to go back to the job that you left because you didn't enjoy it, is there? That
yes, yeah.
that sort of sharpens and focuses the mind in terms of.
It does, yeah. That was the carrot I was being dangled. It's not
Hmm.
to be successful.
So, but, I mean, obviously, you bought the business coming out of COVID, and it was a challenging time for lots of businesses. Um,
Mm.
what if you're 2 or 3 years in, but if you were to go back to when you bought the franchise, all rights, what is there anything you would do differently?
I think I probably would have done a little bit more research into what is entailed as a franchisor. It's very, very different to being a franchisee. And it has taken me probably these 3 years to transition myself properly and change that mindset. I've been really fortunate that I've been working with another children's activity provider franchisor who's like just sort of helped me and has sort of been on hand just for sort of questions that come up. I was a deputy head in the teachers role, so I'm used to managing a team, but it's very different. It's very, very different. And I love it, really do love it. But yeah, I think if I'd had the chance to do it again, I probably would have worked harder on that in the beginning in changing my mindset before I sort of took over. But yeah, we've got there slowly, but
So talk to me. The mindset intrigues me a bit. So how's your mindset changed? Well, what was your mindset? What's it now? How's that transition happened?
So I started off thinking, right, this is great. I'm going to continue running my area as a franchisee. I'm going to sort of obviously start building up the team. It's very much, in my head, it was very much I can show my team that I'm doing everything that they're doing and I understand. And actually what I found from that was because I was then splitting my time between both, I wasn't giving both my full attention. So neither was doing as well as it could have been. And it was that trying to step back from being a franchisee. And it's really difficult because when I started doing Mess Around West Suffolk, there was no Mess Around in West Suffolk. So I built this business up from scratch. And then to try and hand it over to somebody else, it's like that's almost like that's my baby. But then it's trying to take stock of, actually, I own all of it now. It's not just Mess Around West Suffolk, and I can still help Mess Around West Suffolk grow and be the best it can be, but as a franchisor rather than actually in the midst of it all. So I've got a leader that's now running those sessions for me, and actually since I've done that, I've seen Mess Around West Suffolk grow back to where it was sort of before the pandemic, and I'm now seeing more coming in through Mess Around Limited as well. I've increased the number of franchisees. I'm more available for my franchisees to help them grow their businesses as well. So it's kind of just shifting that over and thinking, I'm not a franchisee anymore. I am franchisor, so I can still grow the franchises, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, you said that they're starting to grow. The number of franchisees coming on board are starting to grow. So what do you attribute that growth to?
So I think it's just a lot of hard work. Really. It is being very active on social media. I've done a lot on changing our packages, obviously with the cost of living. So we come out of the pandemic and we get slapped with the cost of living. We've had to have a real look at our packages and our contract as well. So I've done a lot of work on that. And it's sort of, chatting to prospective franchisees, and even those that don't come on board, it's then going back to them and saying, absolutely fine, respect your decision, can I have some feedback, and sort of taking that on board as well, and looking at the change. So we've gone from a 5-year contract to a 3-year contract with our franchise package. I've looked at putting payment packages in place as well, and supporting people through the business loan. So and splitting our package up, because when we came out of the pandemic, when you bought the franchise, you got everything for Mess Around and everything for Slime Lab, because we do Slime Lab for the older children. And what I've done now is I've separated those out, so it makes that Mess Around one slightly cheaper and the Slime Lab one slightly cheaper as well. So it's just sort of looking at the market really, and just really knowing your market and what people are looking for.
So I mean, in terms of how do you generate leads then? So how do you generate? I mean, I know you said you use social media, but is it just purely social media advertising, or you boosting posts, or?
No, so I do a lot through Facebook and Instagram, a lot on there using their ads. But I also have quite a substantial mailing list. So we've got a landing page on our website, so people come through to our mailing list, and we then sort of send out a series of emails through there, and then I do regular emails as well. So if I've had a new franchisee come on board, I'll do a blog about that and about the support they've been given, and the launch and everything, and I'll send that out to prospective franchisees. And it's just dropping things in, and as things change, dropping that in. Oh, look, we've changed this, because people sit on it for a while. I did. I was 2 years joining as a franchisee, from actually originally seeing it to signing, because the time just wasn't right 2 years prior. And I have had quite a few people that have come back to me since we've changed the package, and it wasn't right for us before, but now it looks like it's going to be right. We'd like to come on board. So it is just keeping those leads going, and just sort of using the mailing list. I think is huge. It's and that's what we try and grow and work very much from the mailing list.
Yeah, but what you're saying sounds like the packages have started to stimulate some more interest. So it looks like that decision to either separate them or make them more cost effective or contractually a little bit more attractive is paid off for them.
Yes.
I mean, how did you come to that decision? I mean, what sort of process did you go through to get to that point? Going, do you know what, I need to do this.
It was very much thinking what I would feel. So I know when I signed up, I was a bit, 5 years. That's a long time to be tied in. But for me, it was always that was my change of career almost. But for some people it isn't. For many it's that 5 years, they've had a baby, and I see that quite a lot. The 5 years works for them. But when I was doing like a lot of the Zoom calls, like the discovery calls, you would say a 5-year contract and you could see people almost like retract back, and it is a commitment, and you don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. So that was one of the factors there. But I think the other thing is I'm quite stingy with money. I'm probably one of the tightest people out there, and thinking, would I hand over that amount of money? Is it, and it was just sort of looking at it and thinking, actually, not a lot of my franchisees are are running the slime. They're very much focused on the mess. So they've got all this package, all this equipment for slime that there's just sat there and they're not using it. So actually, if we did separate it out, they've then got that chance, and they can always buy the slime back at a later date. So they don't have to just say, "Well, I'm just doing mess and that's it." They've got options there. So it's very much just sat thinking about how I felt about it all when I joined, really, and chatting to the other franchisees. So I involve them quite a lot in the decision making, in that I listen to their ideas and I ask for them, because they're the people that are there, they're running it, they're doing it, they're the ones that spent the money, so it's very much taken on board what they'd said, and listening to them as well.
Yeah, I've got a bit of humour here, because you have said that you're probably the tightest person out there, and have you realised that you're talking to a Scotsman?
Yeah, true. So I'm Yorkshire ways.
Bit further north, so it could be a bit of a battle there as to who the tightest is.
Yeah, no, I think you win on that one.
So obviously becoming a franchise arm, and the demands in you are greater. So how do you balance your personal life and demands in terms of running the business?
I don't know actually. I just make it fit. It is just I work in the evenings when my little one's in bed. So I've got three daughters. Unfortunately, two are teenagers, quite self-sufficient, but I do have a little 6-year-old as well. So it's very much, I do a lot of work during the day. I have moved to an office because, for the best will in the world, working from home, I get nothing done. I'm very much a procrastinator. So, there's always washing and cleaning to be done at home. So at least if I'm here in the office, it is heads down and get on. In the holidays, I tend to try and work from home, and it is a struggle. But we just muddle through it, really. I'm currently juggling all of them on my own because my husband's working in Paris now, so he sort of flew out at the weekend. So we're now trying to adjust to a new routine. But you just make it work. And the beauty of running your own business is you've got that flexibility. So I will quite often be doing social media posts at 10 o'clock at night, but it's just the TV's on, laptop's on my knee, and I'm just doing stuff like that. And lists, I make myself lists every day. It's like a must-do list. This has to be done today, this needs to be done, but can be pushed back. And I think that stems very much from my deputy head days as well. It was very much how I worked there. I like to just have tick lists so I can tick stuff off and feel like I've accomplished things.
To dig in something a bit, how do you deal with the procrastination bit? What's your strategies for moving on from procrastination?
Is just realizing it and giving yourself a bit of a mental kick.
Are you a bit of leave it to the last minute.com with some of the things you don't want to do?
Sometimes I am, yeah, and then sometimes I have that saying that I just need to eat the frog, so I just need to get those things done first. So if I am making a list, if I know there's stuff that I really don't want to do, I try and put it at the top of the list so it's there in my face, and it is just like, come on, eat the frog, get it done, and then it's done for the day. So
Read that book too. Very good. If anybody's listening, if you've got procrastination, Eat That Frog is a very good book too.
Yeah.
So look, there's loads of misconceptions, common misconceptions out there about running businesses or running a business. How would you address some of those misconceptions?
You think it's really hard. It's just talking to other business people, and it is, I've had a franchisee come to me before, and obviously we share with them the potential earnings that they can have. And she came back and she said, well, that works out at this amount an hour. And I said, like, you can't turn it into hourly pay. You're self-employed, you're doing it, you've got that flexibility. You can't have both worlds. So you can't look at the hourly pay and then think, well, actually I can work when I want to. That's not how being self-employed works. And I think the benefits of that flexibility, being able to work it around your children, far outweighs that hourly pay. And it's one of those things, the more you put into it, the more you take out of it. But I think it is just trying to talk to people about it. So I'm now working with another company to run a magazine for children's activity providers, and that is in a way to try and push that, like you say, those misconceptions, and share what it is like to be a franchisee or an independent and working for yourself, and trying to, help people get the support there as well. And yeah, it's just a lot of dialogue, I think, is the only way that we're going to change those misconceptions. I think the biggest one for our industry is very much, we sometimes just treat like that's just a mum, it's just a part-time mum job, and for many of us it isn't. This is our career, this is our business. And we very much felt like that during pandemic. We were very much just like, yeah, we'll deal with them later. There's other industries out there, and it was difficult. And I think that's why I'm now working with a magazine to try and raise that profile and say, do you know what? No, we are genuine business people as well. We're not just a mum tribe. It is, we're there. And actually, we're an important industry because we are the first contact for many of our future. We're there helping to shape the future that's going to come through the world, sort of thing.
But do you think that stigma's there around,
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I went to, so the reason the magazine came around is I went to an award ceremony. I put myself forward for some business awards, and they were general business ones. And I think there was me and another children's activity provider in the room. That was it. There was hardly any children's activity providers there. And you see that at a lot of the general business awards, there are not many children's activity providers there because, people either don't understand the industry, or they do. You get that feeling that it's just a mum playing at it, and it isn't. We're not.
Yeah, no,
um
there's quite a lot of PR to be done to change
yeah.
that, isn't there? So look, so you've been an employer, but you're bringing franchisees on board, etc. What's been your biggest learning as an employer since you began the business?
Rhino skin, thick skin. It's really important. And again, I think I learned a lot of that through my deputy head days as well. And you get the kicking, and people don't always agree with your ideas, and you have to be really confident in your ideas and going forward. And if you believe they're right, like I said, I'm very open to listening to my franchisees. And do you know what, if I've made a mistake, I will put my hands up and say to them, do you know what, actually we tried it didn't work out, it's my error. And I think that's really important as an employer as well, is being able to admit when things, because they don't always go right, but
Right.
the best intentions are always there. And I think, it is hard, hearing criticism, really hard. And I think that's where the rhino skin comes in, because I have to think sometimes it's not personal, it's not aimed directly at me, it's just some of the decisions that we have to do, or some of the things we have to follow is not particularly well liked, but sometimes there's no getting away from it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree, and I think there's a bit in there around taking the learning from all those situations when they don't go right, so you can move them
Yeah.
forward and improve what you're doing. Absolutely. So, the final question for me is, obviously you've got that learning around, I mean, that rhino skin, but in terms of employees that you brought into your business, and then maybe you might want to talk about your franchisees. What qualities do you look for?
So it's one of those things, really, when I'm chatting with people, it's just that gut instinct, isn't it? So I am, obviously looking for people that are personable. They need to be personable because of the business that we do. They're mixing with children, they're chatting with mums every day. They need to build those relationships. So I am always looking for people that can build those relationships and can have that conversation. But I don't know. I feel like you just know when someone's a good fit for the business. I can't put my finger on it. Just have this instinct. And again, there are times when I've got it wrong, absolutely got it wrong, but more often than not, I'm like, right, just go with your gut. And I think, yeah, they'll be good. And so the leader that I've just put in for my business, when I started chatting with her, she was really quiet, but there was just something there, and I just thought, I know she's going to be good for the business, so we went with it. And she's been brilliant. She's absolutely fantastic. The parents love her, the children love her, and it was totally the right decision. But yeah, I think it's just been that really good judge of people, really, just knowing what they're like.
I think I agree. Having your instincts is absolutely right. I think there's an element of being able to back that up with some factual information as well, just to help you get that I suppose, rounded decision on the individual, because you're right, our gut can tell us lots of things, but it doesn't always get it right. So
No, no, absolutely, yeah.
having that fail safe, I think, is quite important.
Yeah.
Rachel, this has been fantastic. There's loads of gold dust in there for everybody. So look, I just want to thank you very, very much for giving up your time to chat with me today. And but I wish you every success with being a franchisor. I hope it starts to go from strength to strength to strength for you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time as well. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you very much. I'll hopefully see you again soon.
Yes, thank you.